think that's it. So, good afternoon. My name is Brad Micklin. I'm the managing member of the Micklin Law Group, which is a law firm concentrated in men's and fathers' rights in divorce, custody, family law issues with offices in Nutley and Montclair, New Jersey. Today is September 5th, 2019. As I said, this is in New Jersey, so whatever I'm talking about today only applies to New Jersey and only applies really to today because the law is always subject to change. So if you're looking at this any other time, you always got to update to make sure that the laws haven't changed. Most of my daily tips are of a general nature, as will this be to some extent, so they don't change that often or that quickly, but you should still check. Today's daily tip is, how do I calculate child support for a college-age child in New Jersey? And it's a complicated question. I was just saying when I opened up Facebook that I probably should have made this a how-to video because it may be a little longer than my normal daily tip, but I think it's an important topic. So there's three different issues to look at. The first is if the child is at college and living away at college, if the child's at college but living home, and then third, if the child is of college age but not attending college. So let's look at the first one. If the child is in college and living away, first, college contribution is completely separate and apart from child support. I'm not talking about college contribution today. I've done tips on that in the past. I did that on my YouTube videos and my website. You can look up Newbert versus Riccio for the standard, but it's outside the scope. It's just talking about child support. So that's unrelated. Whether you're paying for college or not doesn't affect whether or not you pay for child support. So the first thing you have to look at is the child support guidelines, which normally apply except for college-age children and if the person is at college. So instead of using the guidelines, which is the common way to determine child support, we will look to the cost and needs of the child, both away at school and when living at home. Child support still continues while the child's away because the custodial parent, if there is a custodial parent, is still maintaining residence for that child to return. School breaks, summer breaks, to do laundry, whatever the reason may be. So they're still keeping a residence that would house that person. They're still using some utilities, but not as much as if the child was living there altogether. So they will look at a needs-based support amount. Usually if child support is in place when the child goes away to college, there will be a modification. Often it's downward because, again, one child is living away. But if there were happen to be, for instance, two children and one goes away to college, it doesn't mean you're going to get child support cut in half because, again, the house isn't being cut in half. Only one person is leaving. So some expenses continue, some don't. So you have to do an analysis as to what will be the needs and costs incurred for the child. Quite honestly, most people, including judges and lawyers, still use the guidelines as a basis because it's the easiest way to calculate what the needs and costs will be. Then you can adjust it up or down if you think it's not responsive or reflective of what the needs and actual costs will be. So it's a good starting point, but it's not what the law says you're supposed to do. You really have to do a deep analysis of what the needs will be. Second, and one thing to remember is part of the analysis is you want to make sure to avoid any double dipping. So if the child's going away to school and there's room and board, meal plans, things like that already being paid for, that shouldn't be paid for or contributed to in the cost when you analyze child support, at least to a limited extent. So you want to avoid paying for expenses in both residences or double dipping. Second scenario is if the child is in college but living at home. First, same thing. College contribution doesn't impact the child support guidelines whatsoever. It's still going to be separate and apart. Again, you want to look at the child support, and once again, the factors or the guidelines don't apply. You have to look to the guideline factors, the underlying factors that courts use to make a custody determination, for instance, would be helpful. Here it's a little easier because since college is separate, you only have to look at the needs of the children or child. And if there was a child support in place, whether it's for more than one child or not, chances are very good it's not going to be modified too much unless incomes have changed because the needs are not going to change. They're not going to increase or decrease any substantial amount because the child's going away to college. Most of the time, the child I'd say most of the time the child's going to be at home as far as sleeping, weekends and holidays, but the expenses don't change. Just because a child may be going to school during the day or at college for long periods of time doesn't really change the electric bill or food bills too much. So if your child is going to college but living at home, child support's not likely to be modified substantially, but it is still a reason to review it. Lastly is if you have a child that's college age but not going to college and still living at home. Now, New Jersey changes child support laws as of up to 19 years old, and it's presumed to be emancipated. So a child will get college or child will get child support through the age of 19, presumptively, and then it will terminate unless the custodial parent petitions the court for some reason to continue it. Now, it doesn't mean that nobody over 19 gets child support. It's just presumed to terminate. But the standard to determine whether it should in fact be terminated is whether or not the child has moved beyond the sphere of needing parental influence. That means, are they self-sufficient or not? It's not just an automatic termination, but now the burden is different. The burden is on the custodial parent to prove that the child has not moved beyond needing support, basically. Could be physiological needs, educational, mental issues, anything that may impact the child's ability to support him or herself would be or could be a reason for the court to continue child support beyond 19. Some children never get off of child support. They have needs that will carry them through their adult life, and the parents need to support them indefinitely. It's a rare case in comparison, but it does exist. So those are the three options to look at when you have a child at college age needing support. I hope the information was helpful. If it wasn't, please email me with any questions you have at brad@micklinlawgroup.com. That's MICKLIN lawgroup.com, all one word. If the information was helpful, appreciate you giving a like to the video and sharing it so that others get to see it. You can also subscribe so that you'll get notifications when I go online. And you can also message me at the email or whatever forum that you're watching me on if there's any tips or issues you'd like me to cover specifically. With that, I'm going to sign off. I will be off for the next week. I'm on vacation, so I will not be back until the 16th. Something you want to see on the 16th, just message me before that.